Tender. I'm author of the book, The Amazing Dog Training Man. And today, I wanted to talk to you about behavior problems. As I'm filming this, it's Monday morning, and we just finished Thanksgiving a couple of days ago. And on Thanksgiving, I had the opportunity to be at my in-laws' house, which is always a great time, because my wife's family, they're all big dog lovers. So not only was there a bunch of people there, there was also a pile of dogs there. And it was a lot of fun having all these different dogs running around playing and interacting, along with all of the family that was there. So it was kind of interesting because at one point during the festivities, one of the dogs decided to squat and go to the bathroom right in front of everybody. Now, I'm not talking about number one, I'm talking about number two. And as that dog did number two, the owner became very upset with the dog. Okay, because it wasn't a little dog like Martini. It was a big dog. So there was a big mess. Anyways, the owner was real upset, which was understandable. And when she calmed down a little bit, I took her aside. And I started to have a little chat with her. I am the Amazing Dog Training Man after all. So I had a little chat with her because what I wanted to tell her is that the house training issue that she was dealing with was not really a behavior problem. And she said, well, of course it's a behavior problem. And I said, no, it's not. She said, yes, it is. And I said, no. What we classify as behavior problems really are not behavior problems. And this is what we have to understand when we're dealing with dogs. When a dog does a behavior that we don't like, we say it's a behavior problem. Dog chews the furniture. Behavior problem. Dog goes to the bathroom on the floor. Behavior problem. Dog jumps up. Behavior problem. And it's really not a problem because it's normal, natural canine behavior. The reason I explain that to everybody is because when you look at it that way, it's a little bit easier to deal with and to not get angry, because a lot of times when we get angry, we punish the dog. And the big thing you have to remember about punishment is it should never ever be done out of anger. If you're going to use punishment, which is an effective form of changing behavior, but I'm not going to get into that right now because I'm a positive trainer, but punishment in some situations can be very effective. And watch some of my other videos where I explain how to use punishment, but you have to make sure that you never do it out of anger. When it's done out of anger, it's not effective punishment. So anyway, she was very upset, and once I told her that it wasn't a behavior problem, she started to calm down. And then I said, when it comes to house training, what you have to understand is that if the dog craps on your floor, it's not a behavior problem. It's a location problem. Okay? What's more natural and normal than relieving yourself? So what you have to teach the dog is that this is an unacceptable location, that is an acceptable location. So once she started to look at it this way, she started to calm down a little bit, and then I started giving her steps to house training. And the big thing is that if the dog starts to go in the house in front of you, you never want to grab the dog. Say, bad dog, and then pick him up and shove his nose or her nose in its own mess. And the reason for that is because that punishment could backfire on you. By shoving your dog's nose in the mess, the dog now makes an association. If I go to the bathroom in front of this maniac, they're going to shove my nose in it. So now guess what happens? You go outside with the dog, you have him on leash, and what's the dog thinking? I ain't going to go in front of this person. This person's going to shove my nose in it. So now the punishment actually backfires on you, and you can stand there and wait and wait and wait and get frustrated and more frustrated and more frustrated. Then you bring the dog into the house, and then you let him, start running around the house, and the dog says, oh, she's not around. Here's my chance. And then what do? They unload somewhere in the house. And then you walk in, and then, again, everything turns into a big mess. So you have to think of behavior problems as normal, natural canine behavior. We just have to figure out what's acceptable and what's unacceptable. Dog jumping up on you, he's just trying to greet you, just trying to say hi. Dog chewing on your furniture, just like chewing a stick. If he's chewing on a piece of wood, if he's chewing on a wood table or a wooden chair, what difference is that to the dog between a stick he finds out in the yard and a stick that he finds in your house? It just happens to be in the form of a chair. So remember that. Behavior problems aren't really behavior problems. They're really normal, natural canine behavior. We call them behavior problems because we're human. And so remember not to use punishment as your first reaction to anything that your dog does wrong. Remember the MUT method. I always talk about the MUT method that I developed when I wrote my book, Amazing Dog Training Man. Manage, underlying, training, and time. Manage the behavior. Okay, use a crate if you have to, if you're having like a house training problem. Figure out what the underlying problem is. Does the dog really understand he's not supposed to go in here, he's supposed to go out there? Does the dog understand he's not supposed to chew on my furniture, but he can chew on sticks outside? Okay, does he understand he can't jump up to greet me, but he can greet me with all 4 paws on the ground? Okay, figure out what the underlying problem is, and then teach a new behavior. Okay, this is unacceptable, this is acceptable, and then give it some time. Changing behavior takes time, whether it's a dog or a human. So remember that. Behavior problems aren't really behavior problems. Canine behavior. Don't resort to punishment as your first reaction to anything that your dog does wrong. So, remember that, you're much better off. Section of Train Your Dog TV where I answer some questions, and if you have a question for me, just send it or post it on the blog right underneath this video, and I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. So, question I just got from a couple in Indiana. They both work long hours, and their dog is always doing a lot of behaviors that they don't like. Dogs biting them, dogs chewing up a lot of things, dogs digging holes in the yard. And this is a really easy one to answer, because the problem with most dogs that don't get enough exercise is behavior problems, like we talked about a minute ago. But they're not really behavior problems. It's normal, natural canine behavior. And when a dog doesn't get enough exercise, it becomes, the dog gets all pent up. And that pent up energy needs to get rid of somewhere, somehow. So they'll do things that we don't like. They'll jump up, they'll dig, they'll bark, they'll chew on the furniture, do all kinds of behaviors we don't like. And once you give the dog enough exercise, once they are tired, they're nice and easy to have around the house. It's easier for your dog to live with you. It's easier for you to live with your dog. And my saying is, the only good dog is a tired dog. Remember that. Learn it. Live it. You and your dog will be much, much happier. Martini, this little dog right here, goes for a walk at least 3 miles every day with me. She doesn't need the same amount of exercise as, say, a 10-month-old border collie. But it all depends on your dog, its size, the breed, and the age. Remember that. If you have a border collie, a herding dog, or anything that, like a hunting dog, they're going to need a lot of exercise. So think about dog daycare. Get involved in some dog sports, agility, fly ball, all great things you can do with your dog. But if you can give your dog enough exercise, it's going to reduce the behavior problems you're dealing with, and it's going to be much, much easier for your dog to live in the house with you. So, thanks for watching this episode of Train Your Dog TV, and we'll be back next week with some great dog training tips and training methods for you to use. Thanks!